At my daughter's dance recital, my MIL took the front row seat meant for me. She looked me in the eye and said, "She performs better when you're not around." My husband said, "Let it go. Don't start drama." But when the recital ended, my daughter ran straight into her arms and whispered, "Thanks for helping me keep it a secret from Mommy." I checked her backpack that night, and what I found made me file for full custody. I've been holding this in for weeks. Honestly, I still don't know how to explain the kind of pain that hits you when you realize your own child has been used as a pawn, your own kid, the one you carried, raised, cried over, the one you'd take a bullet for. And the person pulling the strings? Someone you trusted just enough to never expect this. My name's Heather. I'm 39. I live in a suburb outside San Antonio. I've been married for over a decade to a man I met in college named Brian. We've had our issues, what couple doesn't? But we always made it work. Or at least I thought we did. We have one child together, Ava. She's 8. Bright, creative, a little sensitive, and the absolute center of my life. I've worked part-time ever since she was born, just so I could be there. Mornings, bedtime, field trips, dance practice, doctor's appointments. I was there. Always. Until I wasn't. And not because of me. It was 2 Fridays ago. Ava's dance recital. She's been in this little local dance school since she was 5. They do 2 big shows a year, winter and spring. This spring show was a big deal to her. She had a solo, her first. We practiced her moves every night for 2 weeks straight. I even took off work to do her hair the day of. We picked out her lip gloss together. She asked me over and over, "You'll be in the front row, right, Mommy?" Right in the middle. I told her yes every time. So I got to the auditorium an hour early. I walked fast to the front row, middle seats, and stopped in my tracks. Marlene, my mother-in-law, was already there. Legs crossed. Program in her lap. Big smile on her face. She looked at me like she'd been waiting for me. Before I could even speak, she leaned in and said in the quietest voice, "She performs better when you're not around." I just stared at her. I couldn't even believe what I'd heard. I blinked and said, "You need to move. That seat is for me." She didn't move an inch. She smiled and said, "Let it go. Don't make a scene, Heather. It's not about you." That's when Brian showed up behind me. I turned to him, thinking he'd back me up. But he just shrugged and muttered, "It's just a seat. Don't start drama." I wanted to scream. But Ava was backstage. She needed to feel calm, supported, loved. So I sat in the 3rd row, far to the left. My hands were shaking. I tried to calm myself by focusing on her performance. She was great. But even from where I sat, I could see her eyes searching the crowd. She looked confused. Then she smiled, but not at me. She was looking at Marlene. After it ended, I followed the crowd into the hallway. I saw Ava come out in her costume, looking around. I opened my arms. She ran right past me, straight to Marlene. She threw her arms around her and whispered something. Marlene looked right at me as she said it. She didn't even try to hide her smirk. I walked up slowly, and just as I got close, I heard Ava whisper, "Thanks for helping me keep it a secret from Mommy." I froze. Marlene gave me the smug, proud look like she was daring me to say something. Brian was a few feet away talking to another parent. He didn't see or hear anything. I smiled. I hugged Ava. Told her she was amazing. We went home. I said nothing the whole car ride. Brian acted like everything was fine. Ava hummed to herself in the back seat. But when we got home and she went to bed, I pulled out her backpack from the corner of her room. I don't even know why. Something in me just needed to see what she'd been carrying. Something felt off. Inside were crumpled wrappers, dance notes, a pair of tights. And then I found a folder I'd never seen before. Inside were printed emails. Long threads. Back and forth between Marlene and Ava's dance teacher. One message from Marlene said, "Heather is too controlling." Ava needs space to grow without feeling judged. Another said, let's keep this just between us. Ava's staying with me to practice. Heather thinks she's at a friend's. I flipped through page after page. The teacher had replied, understood. I'll keep you copied on all updates, and I won't mention anything to Heather. I felt like my skin was on fire. Then I found Ava's glitter journal tucked behind the folder. It wasn't hidden, just zipped in another pocket. On the first page she had written, Mommy always wants everything to be perfect. Grandma says she's too much. Grandma says Daddy will protect me if Mommy gets mad. I like practicing with Grandma more. She says I'm the best even if I mess up. Page after page. My daughter, my baby, had been taught to see me as someone she needed protection from. I sat on the kitchen floor with that folder in my lap and just cried. I cried for myself. For Ava. For what had been done to our bond. I cried because I realized how deeply Marlene had sunk her claws into my kid and how Brian just let it happen. The next morning, I didn't even wait for coffee. I called a lawyer. The lawyer's name was Michelle. Mid-40s, no nonsense, and sharp as hell. I barely finished telling her the story before she said, we're not dealing with just boundary issues here. This is emotional manipulation. Possibly parental alienation. I didn't even know what that meant. She explained it, basically when one parent, or someone close to the child, poisons them against the other parent. Makes them distrust, fear, or even hate the person who's supposed to love them the most. It's hard to prove in court, but it's not impossible. Especially if there's proof. I had emails. I had Ava's journal. I told Michelle I wasn't trying to hurt Ava or make a scene, I just wanted to protect her. She told me the best thing I could do right now was document everything and keep calm. No big blow-ups. No yelling at Marlene. No accusing Brian in front of Ava. Just keep collecting and let her handle the legal side. That was harder than it sounds. Back at home, I tried to act normal. Ava was sweet, bubbly. She showed me a dance move she'd learned and asked if she could go to Grandma's that weekend again. I smiled and told her we'd see. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip the whole world apart. Instead, I said, hey, when you and Grandma practiced, did Daddy ever go too? She shook her head. No, just me and her. Sometimes I slept over. Daddy didn't know. That hit me hard. I didn't even realize they'd done this behind Brian's back too. So that night, I sat Brian down. I told him everything. The emails, the journal, the secrets, the way Ava had been staying at Marlene's without us knowing, and how her teacher had helped cover it all up. His face changed, first confused, then pale, then angry. But not at Marlene. At me. You went through her backpack? He snapped. You went through her private journal? Jesus, Heather. I couldn't believe it. Did you not hear what I just said? I asked him. She's been manipulating Ava. She's been making her afraid of me. She's 8, he said. Kids write weird stuff. You're overreacting. That was when I knew. It wasn't just Marlene. It was both of them now. Whether Brian meant to or not, he was letting it happen. He was siding with the woman trying to erase me from my own daughter's life. Michelle told me to start keeping a written log. Every conversation. Every time Ava came back from Marlene's acting distant. Every time she said something that didn't sound like her. So I did. I filled pages. Like the time Ava said, Grandma says you were probably never meant to be a mom. Or the day she came home with a new dress, tag still on. I asked where it came from, and she said, Grandma said not to tell you. You'd make a big deal. The worst was a phone call I overheard one night. Ava was in her room. I thought she was asleep, but I passed by her door and heard her whispering. She was on the phone with Marlene. Yeah, Mommy's in a bad mood again. I think she's mad that I'm better when I'm with you. But Daddy said he'll fix it. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I wrote it all down, word for word. And the next morning, I took the whole folder, emails, journal pages, notes from the log, to Michelle. She looked through everything. Then she looked me straight in the eye and said, "We're filing emergency custody. This is enough." That was 3 days ago. And yesterday, the papers were served. To Brian. To Marlene. And to Ava's school and dance studio, too. I thought I'd feel relief. I didn't. I felt like I'd just started a war. The fallout was faster than I expected. That same evening, Brian came home with fire in his eyes. He slammed the front door hard enough to rattle the picture frames. Ava was at her friend's birthday sleepover, thank God. I was sitting at the kitchen table, waiting for it. "You filed what?" he said. "Emergency custody? Are you out of your mind?" I didn't even flinch. "You left me no choice." He threw his keys on the counter. "No, Heather. You made a choice. You're trying to rip our daughter away from her family over what? Some emails and a damn dance recital." "No," I said calmly. "Over the fact that your mother has been brainwashing our daughter to distrust me. Over the fact that you let her do it." He laughed, cold and sharp. "You're paranoid. You're losing it. I should have stopped you years ago when you started acting like the perfect mother." That hit me like a punch. Not because it hurt, because it told me exactly what I needed to know. He resented me. He always had. And he was never going to protect me or Ava. "I've already spoken to the court," I told him. "You'll be getting a date for the hearing. And if you keep yelling, I'll be filing for a temporary protective order, too." His face went white. That night, he didn't sleep in the bedroom. The next twist came 2 days later. Michelle called me early in the morning. She sounded off. "Something's up," she said. "I just got word that Marlene's filed a counter-motion." "For what?" I asked. "She's petitioning for grandparent visitation rights. And she included a statement claiming you're emotionally unstable. She says you've been isolating Ava from her since she was born and that you're jealous of their relationship." I was speechless. "But here's the thing," Michelle continued. She also submitted a bunch of photos and a written statement supposedly from Ava. "What kind of photos?" "Pictures of Ava crying. A video where she says you yelled at her after a recital. And a short letter, definitely coached, where she says she feels scared when she disappoints you." I felt my chest tighten. "Can she do that?" I asked. "She can try," Michelle said. "But we'll push back. We'll request Ava speak to a court-appointed therapist. We'll demand all original footage, metadata, timestamps. If she's faking this, we'll expose it." I wanted to scream. Or cry. Or both. But I had to stay calm. Ava was still watching me. The next weekend was the court-ordered evaluation with the family therapist. It was just supposed to be Ava and the therapist, in a neutral office, no one else. But when I went to pick her up afterward, the therapist pulled me aside. "She's confused," she said gently. "She's clearly been told very conflicting things. She loves you. That's obvious. But she's afraid of upsetting people, especially her grandmother." Then she paused. "She said something I need to ask about. She said Grandma told her if she ever got taken away from her, bad things would happen to Mommy. Does that mean anything to you?" My blood went cold. I couldn't speak. Just nodded. That same day, I installed security cameras outside my house. Something inside me said it was time to stop assuming anything was safe. Good thing I did. Because 2 nights later, just after midnight, I got a motion alert on my phone. Someone was at my back door. It was Marlene. In a long coat. Holding something. Looking straight at the camera. She didn't knock. Didn't try to get in. Just stood there for a few minutes, then walked away. I called the police. They said there was no crime. She didn't trespass. But they made a note. Michelle had the footage added to the case file the next morning. "I think she's losing control," she said. "And that makes her dangerous." I was exhausted. But I wasn't scared anymore. They pushed me too far. Now I was pushing back. The court date finally came. A gray Monday morning, the kind where the air feels too heavy to breathe right. I wore a plain black dress. No makeup. Just clean, calm, and ready to fight like hell for my daughter. Brian didn't look at me when we walked in. Marlene was already sitting in the hallway, flipping through a folder like she was the damn attorney herself. When she saw me, she smiled tight and fake, and said loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "We all just want what's best for Ava." I didn't answer. I just walked past her. Inside, the hearing was long. Hours of arguments, statements, and evidence. My lawyer, Michelle, was calm and clear, showing the judge the email threads between Marlene and the dance teacher. She read the lines where Marlene said I was too controlling and that Ava needed distance from her mother's influence. She handed over Ava's journal with highlighted entries about how Grandma said Mommy makes everything stressful and Daddy will protect you if she gets mad. Then she played the security footage, Marlene at my back door in the middle of the night. Silent. Watching. Their lawyer tried to twist everything. Said I was overreacting. That I was jealous of the bond between Ava and Marlene. That mothers sometimes imagine slights when they feel threatened. Then came the part one wasn't ready for. Brian took the stand. And he said I'd been emotionally unstable for years. He said I was cold, strict, made Ava feel like she had to be perfect all the time. He admitted he knew about the overnight stays at Marlene's and that he agreed to them. Heather doesn't mean to be cruel, he said, but she can't see how much pressure she puts on Ava. My mom just gave Ava a safe space. My whole body shook. Michelle leaned over and whispered, "Stay calm. You're winning." And then Ava came in. She wore her favorite pink sweater. Hair in braids. Holding her little stuffed bunny. She was nervous. Fidgety. The judge smiled at her and asked simple questions. What do you like to do after school? Who helps you with homework? What do you do when you're sad? Then she asked, who do you feel safest with? Ava paused. Then said, Mommy. When she reads to me, I feel safe. The judge nodded. Then asked, do you think Mommy loves you? Ava nodded hard. Yes. And Grandma? Ava blinked. Looked around. Then she said, Grandma told me not to say anything bad. She said if Mommy gets mad, it'll be my fault. That courtroom went silent. The judge thanked her and asked for the room to clear for recess. When we returned, the ruling was fast. Full physical custody to me. Brian would get supervised visitation for now until he completed parenting counseling and a psychological evaluation. Marlene? No visitation. No contact. A restraining order filed immediately. She wasn't even allowed at school events unless cleared by the court. The judge called her behavior a campaign of manipulation. I felt like I could breathe for the first time in weeks. But the damage wasn't done just yet. That night, Brian showed up at the house. Not to apologize, but to yell. He stood on the porch shouting about how I ruined his life and turned Ava against her family. I called the police. Again. They warned him to leave or be arrested. He drove off with his tires squealing. 2 weeks later, I found out through a friend that Marlene had packed up and moved to Arizona. Gone without a word. And Brian? He started skipping the supervised visits. First one, then another. Then he just disappeared. No child support. No calls. Ava stopped asking for him after the third no-show. She's in therapy now. So am I. It's not easy. There are still moments where I wonder if I could have done something sooner. If maybe I was too focused on being the perfect mom that I missed the cracks forming around me. But I know this, no matter what mistakes I made, I was there. I didn't walk away. I didn't choose silence over my child. And in the end, I saved her. The cost was high, but I'd pay it again every time. Because no one gets to take my daughter from me. Not even her grandmother. Not even her father. Not ever again.